It's time for News and Brews, reporting on all things industrial machinery, AI, robotics, and advancements in automation. It's ATX West correspondent Jacob Sanchez.
Good evening, good morning, wherever you're watching, whatever you're doing. I'm Jacob Sanchez with News and Brews, your ATX West correspondent. With me is Mike Ungar. I am assuming I'm pronouncing that right. Yeah. We are going to be talking about what it means to run a business, run your business. I don't care if you're a small, medium, large size business player in this industry, you need to listen to this talk. You need to understand and really discuss with leadership, with your team, why you're doing what you do, what your end goals are. Mike is an expert in exactly this subject. Really excited to have you, Mike.
Jacob, thanks. It's really a pleasure to be here.
So give me a little bit of a rundown, background, who you are, what it is you do when it comes to business development.
Yeah, thanks, Jacob. So I spent 35 years with Michelin North America working in a variety of roles, from continuous improvement to operations, finance, and HR. And during that entire time, I really enjoyed coaching individuals, whether that was part of my responsibilities or as a leader. And as I thought about what I wanted to do next in my life, I decided it was really time to go out on my own and become a business coach, an executive coach. And today I help business leaders really achieve their full potential, both personally and professionally. You know, it's so important that we can each achieve our dreams, and business leaders are no different. The other thing that's really important to think about is business leaders, it's hard to separate personal and professional. Mm-hmm. They blend together, and so having that in balance and thinking about one's future is really important.
That's excellent. So something I wanted to dive in first, companies that are at this show, and specifically in our hall, in the ATX West Hall, it's manufacturing, it's automation. It's a tough industry to be in. It's tough to bring true innovation to this industry and supply customers with a solution to their problem that isn't going to cause more problems down the line. What advice do you have for when it comes to company vision planning? Why they do what they do, what their goals and end goals should be, planning that at the start of starting your company. Can you dive into that part?
Yeah, that's really important. One of the things that's, especially today, maybe we didn't think about it as much 30 years ago, but today it's extremely important that we think about purpose. Why do we exist? And if you say making money, that's not a purpose. That's an outcome, okay? The purpose you have, I use the example with Michelin. When I worked at Michelin, people think that Michelin makes tires.
Yeah.
Right? But actually the purpose that we felt was that we gave people freedom.
Interesting.
Freedom to travel, freedom to pursue economic pursuits, freedom to enjoy hobbies. So I didn't just make tires, I helped individuals have freedom. And that was a really strong purpose. And so for anybody providing equipment or parts or services today, what is your purpose? What is it that really you're doing to do something really greater for the common good of mankind?
Yeah, we talked about in my last interview not just breaking into an industry or breaking into a sector because, we need to get into automotive. Why? We just need to. You really have to be bringing something and believing in what you're doing, what your company's doing for the lives of consumers, for the lives of your customers.
And it also is important for your employees. So when someone works with a company and there's a purpose, there's something that's a higher calling, there's a certain amount of loyalty that becomes, a certain amount of motivation that comes from that. And so you're really doing it really for the betterment of your company and for the world. So this idea to start with purpose, I'm a Simon Sinek fan. Simon Sinek, let's just say, start with the why, so that's the purpose. Then move to the vision, the what. What are you trying to achieve? Thinking about, 3 to 5 years from now, what are you going to be? And then the mission, the how. That's the final part. How do you do it? Well, we manufacture, in the case of Michelin tires, but whatever your particular part might be or service.
This guy is literally in my head. So first of all, you segue perfectly into what I want to talk about teams and your team transparency. I had a Simon Sinek quote pop up into my head that I am saving for the outro for our video. So that was weird.
Oh, good. Excellent.
To get back on topic, when you mention your team, when you mention what you do and what you believe in at your company is important to your team, I want to talk about team transparency. What do you believe is a good level of transparency between leadership and the team when it comes to understanding the end goal of the company. If I'm going to work for a company, for example, if I'm going to work for a company,
Yes.
and this company's end goal is to be merged with a bigger company in automation, manufacturing, whatever it is, that may not sit well with me because with mergers, maybe sometimes things happen. How transparent do you think leadership should be with their teams about the purpose of that business?
Well, so first of all, the purpose for sure, be transparent. When we talk about the goal, let's talk about the vision. So I'm working towards that vision. That vision in 3 to 5 years might be to create enough value to be able to sell the company. I would not hold that close. I would be honest about folks with that. There's a certain amount of loyalty that comes when you're transparent. Most importantly, I think for leaders, they need to be genuine. So we'll talk about, I know you use the word transparency. I like to think about being genuine. Anybody who works for somebody knows that perhaps not everything can be told all the time. But if I'm genuine with you and I'm honest about that, and I'm forthcoming, and I'm not, and I know what is important to you, then it usually can work itself out. One of the things that I often talk about with leaders today about their teams is that you need to follow the platinum rule. If you're familiar with the golden rule, it's do unto others as you want done to you, right? The platinum rule is do unto others as they want done to them. And what's so important about that is we all have our own personal purpose, our own personal desires and goals. And as a leader, you need to understand what those are for that individual. So if you understand the individuals who work for you, their goals, their purpose, and you can help them achieve those, and you can be genuine with them, and transparent appropriately so. There are things that are confidential when you're talking about negotiations that you don't talk about.
Yep.
But in general, if you do that, folks will be happy to follow you and be loyal and support you in accomplishing your mission.
Interesting. That's something that I've always, at least the places that I've worked with or companies that I've seen out in the field, something that's always just rubbed me the wrong way. Maybe it's because I like being involved in the weeds, and when I get told that I can't, I get nudged the wrong way.
But that's the whole point, though. So if you and I work together and I knew that's what you wanted to be, I need to pull you in. There are others who, that's fine, I don't need to be involved in that. I can, you don't need to tell. I'm happy doing. Well, my point is that I think understanding that about Jacob would mean that, hey, I need to think about that and how do I engage Jacob in some of the leadership issues that we have in our company. So it's about knowing what's important to you that really matters in that sort of conversation.
I like that, man. Something else that I wanted to get into leading into all that, and the reason we're having this talk because there's a lot of startups, there's a lot of new small businesses that are happening every day in automation and manufacturing with technologies that are sometimes a tough sell to people. So I really want people to have this information to manage and develop their business better. This last question, an exit strategy. What and how can companies better understand what an exit strategy looks like for them? Does every company need to have an exit strategy? What's your opinion on that topic?
So, it's a difficult question to ask someone like me who spent 35 years with one company, right? My exit strategy was, my intent was retirement, So for those folks that start young companies, though, and, I think you start with a goal and a mission and a purpose, we said, a vision, and you work towards that. Like I said, maybe your vision is that you're going to sell the company one day. All right? If that's your vision, then you work towards that. I think when you talk about employees, again, it's understanding that they need to know that that's your intent, I think.
Yeah.
Because then they can make good decisions for them. You can understand what their needs are. And even to the point, sometimes you can include them in the negotiations. When I say include them, I don't mean include them in the negotiations. I mean take care of them through the negotiations for the sale of the company. A lot of folks will make sure that happens financially if they're not meant to stay with the company, or actually with employment, depending upon their needs and in the negotiation. So I think it's thinking about your people. If you're genuinely interested in the health and well-being of your folks, it'll happen naturally. Where I think we find that folks, you think folks aren't true to humanity, if you will.
Yeah.
It's when they don't think about people and they think only of themselves.
I love this information, man. Mike, I appreciate your time today, doing what you do for businesses across America, and to exit out with that quote I promised.
All right.
From Simon Sinek himself, people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Make people want to work with you because of what you believe your company does, what you believe your company provides. Let them buy in to who you are, what your business does. That's how you do good business as a young company or a company of any age. This is Jacob Sanchez with News and Brews. I'll see you in a bit.